Good afternoon again. Monday, May 2nd. We've had a correction in the markets. Do not worry, it's not a meltdown. Most certainly not yet. The market's pricing in the rate increase that the Federal Reserve is going to bring to bear. And the Federal Reserve is not going to raise the rate up enough to put a dent in inflation. Nor are they going to liquidate their assets. So things are still a bit precarious. Gold and silver got hammered. They could only suppress it for so long. I think it's going to be coming out pretty soon. They just can't keep this much longer. And the folks that have amassed, the bankers that have amassed so much silver, the last two guys, Warren Buffett and the Hunt brothers, got busted for a lot less silver than what these guys have hoarded up. So there's something wrong with that picture. I think the regulators are getting paid off. I tried to post a video on selling this motorhome here. The problem was I was running the air conditioner and I didn't have the headset on. And YouTube processed the video for hours and finally gave up on us, saying unable to upload. So the quality of it was very poor. I am making an offer and hopefully getting into a rig with ducted air conditioning, which will save my sanity and help you to understand me. I think this is the best I can do under these circumstances, but hopefully soon I'll be in a very quiet rig with more insulation, and instead of the air conditioners being in the room, down in the room with me, like I have this one, I'll have a couple of air conditioners up on the roof with a duct in between in the ceiling. So it should be significantly less noisy, which will help tremendously. I'm really looking forward to that particular blessing. I didn't think it was possible. I think it's going to take about everything I have to pull it off, but I would like to do that. It would be much more comfortable. I love my little rig. It's very cozy. This is the cat's meow for a couple to travel. You can get in almost every national park, every national forest with this rig. It's only 28 feet long. No slides. A great peppy Ford V8 engine with a Banks power pack. It gets up and it moves, and it goes up the hills just fine. It's a gas rig, so it's very easy to get service about anywhere. I'll post something up on that in a little bit. A friend of mine is in need and may purchase it. And I have kind of an awkward set of circumstances anyway. I have to get to my new rig. I've got to sell this and divest myself of the registration, the title on it, and then get my new rig titled up properly and registered. And I don't know what kind of hassle it is. These bureaucrats, they all seem to think their job is to make our lives tougher. I'm paying attention to some other videos. I can't keep up with all the information. I can't remember the names and all of the data they're presenting. Some very interesting things going on. As far as the war effort overseas, that was determined within the first 2 weeks. What's going on right now is that the people in D.C., that shit show that we call a government, they're busy flooding as much as they can into the Ukraine to get it destroyed, to get it used up. And the highest paid actor in the world is the President Zelensky. They're just getting those boys of theirs cut up. It's actually horrible that these young men, the flower of the Ukraine, is being cut off so young. I know that there's a lot of beautiful women in the Ukraine. They're going to have trouble because they're not going to be able to have husbands. There just won't be enough left to go around. Those boys are in meat grinders right now, and regardless of the prevailing propaganda, the Russians are committed to this. They will deal whatever they have to do. they don't want to take down Odessa. It's a very beautiful city, and they don't want to take it down. But if people are going to be so foolish as to fail to surrender, then that's just what's going to happen, is they're going to do what they have to do. For the Russian people, this has become an existential threat, and Putin is being criticized. Yes, they might run him out of office, but you want to know why? It's because he's not tough enough. He's not hard enough. Well, I think that he and his generals have done a very good job. They planned this out very well from the beginning. And even though they only have 1/3 the amount of troops compared to the Ukrainians, they're fighting this in a very smart way. My biggest fear is that our boys have been over there embedded in all of this, along with other folks in NATO. I hear all kinds of strange rumors. I really don't think that this guy Zelensky is any good, and he should be charged with war crimes because of the way he's ordered his men to stay holed up in places like Mariupol and just to get slaughtered. I mean, the losses for the Ukrainians are really high, and a lot of the Ukrainians want to move, and guess where they want to go to? They want to move into Russia because Russia is a decent economy, and it's coming up in the world. You know, I think for years we've been holding their economy back because they're communists. I think we've been giving them a short exchange, if you will. We haven't been giving them their due, and I think that we need to treat people all the way around much better than we have. As far as the money supply goes, we're headed for something horrible here, because by being the world's reserve currency, we in the United States of America were able to export our inflation. The inflation that was properly ours to have in this whole mess of fiat, phony monopoly money, we exported that to other nations. And so we're facing a very bitter pill, because that money's going to come running back, screaming back and getting repatriated home. And it's just going to be too much money. So the stagflation is going to be tremendous. The hyperinflation is going to be just off the charts. I think Weimar Germany is going to look like a picnic compared to what we're facing. And why are we facing that? Well, Trump started it by making all of these funds and relief funds available under the guise of the necessity because of COVID. None of those lockdowns were necessary. I hope by now you realize it. So what's going on is that they're destroying us. It's an atypical kind of warfare. They're pumping as much money and dragging this war out as long as they can. They already know they've lost it. It's just a matter of hopefully getting enough time and spending enough money on it so that the fat cats can get fatter, and that we might be able to forget what happened and accept the fact that we've been defeated. I've got friends that will not appreciate what I'm about to tell you. They're in the military. They've been in the military. We are no longer run by the brightest, and that includes our generals. We got some real dipshit military leaders. There are probably a handful of good guys left in the Pentagon, and they're definitely a minority. But nobody's going to listen to them because they're not towing the party line. And I mean that literally, the party line, because D.C. and the State Department is nothing but a bunch of communists. They've infiltrated us for a long time. America, the United States of America, went down a long time ago through a series of measured defeats over 2 centuries. And I would have to say the first one was probably when Alexander Hamilton gave us that banking system courtesy of the Rothschilds and the Bank of England. I also think that it was courtesy of the Bar Association, the British Accreditation Registry. the attorneys gave us the War of 1812, and we allowed the attorneys to be seated in Congress in violation of the original 13th Amendment in March of 1813. That's when we really lost it. The purpose of that 13th Amendment was to provide for a true separation of powers, and also to make sure the attorneys didn't get us into trouble again. And they have, because most of them are dumbasses and they don't understand the law, they don't understand what's happened. And it's really hard to blame them because of the education that they're given. These schools, these colleges and universities are not going to educate you so that you can become free men. They're not going to give you the kind of education you need so you can understand what's going on. It's very hard for me to hold on to it and understand what is going on. I don't claim I have a corner on that market. Not at all. We found out recently from Michael Tessarian that the people that are running the show behind the scenes are a bunch of women in a secret organization with a bunch of men as friends for them. So we don't have the enemy clearly identified at all. And from what I can tell, from what I know, and from what I've heard from him and Mr. Whitehead, they've survived previous Earth ages. So they've developed their technologies and their practices not over millennia, but over Earth ages. And in case you're wondering what an Earth age is, in my estimation, it's a 12,000 year period. Yes, we are at the end of an Earth age, and the Earth groans for her saviors, and also the rest of us are going to be groaning because the sun is going to act up on us. There's no doubt about it, and we're going to lose as much as half of the world's population just because of the sun. There's no global warming, boys and girls. It's the sun that attacks us, basically. And if you read the Bible, you will see, at least in the King James Version, in the NIV version, that the angel in the pit is named Apollyon, Greek, another version of Apollo. These things are given to us in code so that we will not understand them unless we're called to understand them. And my recommendation is get yourself above 800 feet elevation. Make sure you're not on any fault zones. Get well water. Don't rely upon rainwater because they've been spraying us like bugs with all kinds of stuff. Grow your own food. I highly recommend getting, I'm going to approach these guys and see if I can be a sponsor for them before I start hawking their wares. That book by Victor Kovinskis called Survival into the 21st Century was an excellent book. I highly recommend you read that. We used to get copies of it for $20. The last I saw it, they were $50. Victor Kovinskis is alive and well, but I'm glad to say I got a new phone number for him and a message from him. He was honored by the Essenes, which is like one of the oldest branches of the Way. You like to call it Christianity, and he likes to call it that too. But I will call it the faith of our fathers and the Way. Those are the two terms that the Messiah, Yahshua, used. And yes, he is referred to as the Christ in this proper name version of the King James Bible. One time so far. There are two other mentions of the word Christians in the plural form. But I marked it out. I think there's one singular Christian and two plural Christians, and I have one Christ in it so far. I am going to have to do a word study on that. But for the most part, he's referred to as the Messiah. That doesn't mean I'm a Judaizer. That doesn't mean I espouse the Jews as being superior or their religion being superior. I don't like their religion at all. I certainly don't like the Catholic Church. I don't like the Protestant Church, to be honest with you. I don't care for the Mormon Church. But I will say the Mormons are good people, and the Mormons have one advantage over the rest of us. You see, they know the name of their fallen angel that heads up their church, the angel Moroni. The rest of us don't know the names of the fallen angels that head up our churches. Read the Bible. Access the mind of God. Build that Holy Spirit up in you. Educate yourself. You are responsible for your own education. Now that's it for Musings for this day, Monday, the 2nd of May. I'll get you soon here. May Yahweh bless. He's blessing me as I press in and follow His will. Doors open up for me. How about you? Whose side are you on?